Greetings, my beloved viewers. I'm Mr. Okafor PC, your online physics teacher. It's nice having you on this platform. Today, our topic of discussion is difference between facts, hypothesis, theory, and law. Difference between facts, hypothesis, theory, and law. Okay, these are science terminologies. Science terms. Starting with fact. What is a fact? A fact is a statement that is generally accepted as truth. A fact is a statement that is generally accepted as truth. For example, it's a fact that all humans must die. So when we make use of the term fact, it is not arguable. Every person believes it. It is generally accepted as truth. It's a fact that the day is bright and the night is dark. It's a fact that a father is a man and a mother is a woman. So this is what we call facts in the realms of science. A statement that is generally accepted as truth. I believe with the little example I've given you, can give more examples of science facts. So the next term is hypothesis. Recall, hypothesis is one of the scientific methods. Hypothesis is one of the scientific methods. In hypothesis, we come up with intelligent guess or smart guess. But recall, before you can be able to make up guess, you must have come up with question. For instance, let's give an example of hypothesis. When I look into the human society, I notice that humans fall sick. I'll be forced to ask question, why do humans fall sick? Why do human beings fall sick? So that's the question. Then I will come up with smart answers, smart guesses. I'll come up with answers like humans fall sick maybe because there is an organism that enters the body. Because an organism that is not meant to be in the body enters the body. That's my first answer to that question. Why do humans fall sick? So I'm suspecting organisms. That's my first hypothesis. My second hypothesis. In hypothesis, you make more. You make more hypotheses. Put more out because there are various ways to a particular thing. So the first hypothesis, the fall sick maybe is due to an organism entering the body. Then second hypothesis, maybe humans fall sick because they lack vital nutrients in the body. Humans fall sick maybe they are lacking vital nutrients in their body. So this is my second hypothesis. Okay, because I've also observed some humans, some sick humans, I also noticed that some humans, when they are sick, I hear a kind of sound coming from the body. Maybe someone has a kind of running stomach, and I can hear sound from the person's stomach. I can also say humans fall sick, maybe there is a gear in their stomach. Because I'm very much aware that gear creates motion. The motion comes as a result of friction, and it makes a sort of sound. So I can conclude that humans fall sick because they have gear in their body. So here I have at least three hypotheses. One is attributed to organisms in the body. Two, nutrition. Then third one, gear. These are my hypotheses. Then the beautiful thing about hypothesis is that it's not the final conclusion. Hypotheses are testable. They must undergo experiments to ascertain the beauty or the truth in the statements. So when we undergo experiment to prove our hypothesis, to test our hypothesis, then at the end of the day, it happened that only two survive and one decayed. So at the end of the day, it will be confirmed that human beings fall sick because organisms are in their body. And those organisms can be virus, bacteria, fungi, and the rest of them. So humans fall sick because of organisms in their body. So this has been confirmed. Then the second one, humans fall sick because of lack of nutrients in their body. This is what we call nutrition deficiency in the body. So this has been confirmed also. Then humans fall sick because there is gear in their body. This was proven wrong. Therefore, it collapses in the scientific methods. So we now know that at least there are two ways human can fall sick, although there are multiple ways. But due to time, we work on two. So there are two ways of human falling sick. So we've gotten two. This is what we call hypothesis. You make statements that are testable. So when we now test them and confirm them, then humans ask question, how do we fall sick? How is it possible that an organism enter the body and will fall sick? They are tilting towards another scientific term called theory. Theory. So theory targets to explain. People will raise question why and how, and theory answers that. So a short form for theory is explanation. When you tell me that organism in my body makes me to fall sick, I'll ask you how, why. So what answers that question is theory. So theory targets to explain. Hypothesis targets to create a kind of inquisition and make you to test. But theory explains what has been confirmed. So people understand and avoid tendency of getting organisms into the body or tendency of having nutrition deficiency. So the tendencies of disease, theory will help us to avoid those tendencies. So that's why theory is also crucial in the world of science. It targets to explain. It explains better. It answers the question, why and how of what has been confirmed. So when we now want to know how organisms cause diseases in our body, so we're going to something called germ theory of diseases. When we want to know how nutrition deficiency causes disease in the body, we're going to something called nutrition theory of diseases. So theory targets to explain why things happen the way they do. There are a lot of theories. In the world of science, we can have a particular problem and there will be so many theories targeting to explain that problem. It's allowed. Yeah, there are diverse ways to kill rats. So we can have multiple theories targeting to explain a particular thing. Yeah, so theory targets to do what? Explain. It tries to demystify the nature of that stuff or the nature of the natural phenomenon. So theory targets to explain. It answers the question why and how of what has been confirmed. If you can recall, the key question that led to diverse discipline is, who are we? Who are we? So to answer this particular question, there are diverse approaches to this question. And that is why we call in biology, an attempt to answer this question in biology is called theory of evolution. It targets to explain how we started and what we are going to. And there are multiple theories, but the most notable theory is the theory that we call Darwinism. The theory of evolution by Darwinism. So there are multiple theories in the science world. So the last term there is law. And law is the beauty of it all. Humans don't make law. Law are being discovered. Law are principles in nature. Laws are phenomena in nature. So nature stands on certain statements. They come in the form of mathematics. So law is what is in nature. What is in nature. We didn't put them there. We discover them. So humans discover law. They don't make law. The humans make theories. For example, we have many laws. We have the law of electromagnetism. We have the law of conservation of energy. We have Newton's universal law of gravitation. We have Hooke's law. These are laws. These are phenomena in nature. Mother Nature kept them there. So we discovered them. Then when we discover them, we say it the way they are. Or we say them the way they are. Because that is law. You don't compromise law. You didn't put it. You discovered. So you have to say it the way it is. Then we also have theories that want to demystify the law. Theories go further to explain why the law is and how it happens. But the statement of the law itself, it must be the way it is in nature. I'll give you a clear example of what I'm saying. Let's use the law of universal gravitation, discovered by Sir Isaac Newton, to make this example. Newton discovered that every body or every particle of mass exerts force on another particle. Every particle of mass exerts force on another particle. Let's say we have a football and we have a footballer. That the football attracts the football and the football also attracts the football, because both matters are made of particles of mass. The football has mass and the footballer has mass. So as much as the footballer is not kicking the ball is even attracting the footballer and the other way around. So the question becomes, how does this attraction happen? This attraction happens because nature permits it. The football attracts the footballer and the football attracts the football. But to make this attraction noticeable, the masses must be very high. That's why we don't notice that. The masses must be very high. Let's go to bigger masses. In the universe, the bigger masses are the stars and the planets. So it's because of gravity that the sun attracts the earth and the earth attracts the sun. And Newton said that how it happens in nature is that the bigger the masses, the more the attraction. The closer the masses, the bodies, the closer the bodies, the more the force of attraction. The farther away the bodies, the less the attraction. So it takes two heavy masses to come closer to make a greater gravitational pull. But when those heavy masses spread apart, the force is reducing. The force goes down. Likewise, the masses, when the masses diminish, the force also diminishes. This is why a footballer does not know that the football is attracting him, because they have negligible masses compared to the masses of the stars. So this is what we call law. This is law. This is how Mother Nature made it. This is how bodies in space are able to exert force on distant bodies and get them move around their orbits. So this is what we see in nature. We discovered this, and the first mind to discover this was Sir Isaac Newton. But Newton says something crucial in his book, the Mathematical Principia. Newton says something. Although I discovered the law of gravity, I am yet to understand how a distant body can exert force on another body, and there is no material connecting them. Even Newton himself knows that he could not explain the theory of gravity. Newton discovered the law, but he didn't propose the theory for it. He could not understand how possible it is. How is it possible that you'll be holding on something and there's nothing to connect two of you? How possible is that? Newton asked that question. He raised that question. So Newton could not give us the theory, but he gave us the law. And the law was expressed in mathematics because that is how things appear in nature. The language of the universe is mathematics. The universe is quantized. That's why we have a kind of order. The order of the universe is as a result of measurements or mathematics. So every law is expressed in mathematical equation. Yeah. Some scholars have this misconception that theory graduates to law or the other way around. No, these are two distinct terms. Theory can never graduate to law, and law can never diminish to theory. No, they are separate. Theory targets to explain. Law targets to say what is in nature, the way it is, what is in nature. It brings out what is happening in nature and make it obvious to humans. And when we know the laws of nature, we can dwell in nature. This is what enables technologies. We now know how the nature operates, so we can join the wave. We can build text to maneuver the waves. For instance, when Newton discovered the law of gravity, it helped man to make the first landing at the orbits of the Earth. So man was able to leave the Earth because we now know how the Earth's gravitational pull operates. So man was able to develop a spacecraft that could escape the gravitational pull of the Earth, because we now know what is keeping us from moving, gravity. So if gravity is preventing humans from leaving the Earth, we now know that this gravitational force, we can actually get another force that can do what? Maneuver it, or that can overcome it. And that's engine. Yeah, jet engines. Yeah, or rocket engines. So this is the beauty of law. We need to know the laws in nature, the principles in nature, so we can abide to it or maneuver it to get our quests resolved. So in summary, fact is not arguable. It's generally accepted as truth. Hypothesis is testable. You come up with answers, but those answers must be tested to be proven correct. Theory targets to explain. It explains whatever thing we think we've confirmed. Even theory explains law. Then law is what happens in nature. It's a natural phenomenon or natural phenomena. So law tells us what is in nature. That reminds me, the only man or the notable theory of gravity that we have today was propounded by Albert Einstein. Einstein argued that he can explain how gravity happens. So Einstein said that the reason why Newton could not explain why gravity happens the way it does is because Newton was seeing space as an empty space. Einstein argued, no, that space is not empty. That space is a material. The space itself is matter. He called it space-time continuum. That the space is like a flat membrane. That Mother Nature made space initially to be a flat membrane. Then when she now started making stars, matters, start making satellites, when she now puts any matter inside the space-time flat membrane, so the matter warps the space. It makes the space to go down. It warps it inwards. So it goes down. And when it goes down, it permits a kind of curved membrane that any other body that goes there begins to orbit. This was Einstein's theory of gravity. That when you get a heavy body and put it in the space-time continuum, it will make a greater warp. When you get the one that is less massive and put in the space-time continuum, it makes a smaller warp. Then the one that makes a bigger warp will have more bodies orbiting around it. While the one that makes a smaller warp we have smaller bodies orbiting around it. So this theory proved the existence of black hole, because black hole is the most massive object in the universe. No wonder it makes the biggest warp. No wonder not even light can survive its surface, because it is the most massive object or matter we know in the universe, and it makes the greatest warp in space-time continuum. So this was Einstein's theory of gravity. That gravity is possible because of space itself. That space itself is the medium that permits gravity. That heavy objects will make a greater warp, while light objects will make a smaller warp. No wonder the sun has greater satellites orbiting it, because it makes a greater warp, and Earth has small number of satellites orbiting it because it makes a smaller warp compared to the sun. So in summary, I believe we now understand the difference between science facts, science hypothesis, science theory, and science law. Thank you. Please stay tuned. Subscribe.